Yo, what is going on, guys? It is Sam. I hope that all of you are doing super swell today. If you are excited for iOS 13, as always, drop a like down below and hit subscribe so you don't miss out on any future Apple news. I've been doing some digging around, all right? I've been typing up on the internet, and I was actually sort of convinced that a big redesign for iOS 13 outside of just the home screen refresh we've been hearing about could be on the way. And I want to share that evidence with you. Much of this is speculative in nature, so I just want to preface that before you watch any more of the video, but I think there's a decent amount of evidence that iOS 13 could be the biggest iOS upgrade that we're going to see, at least since iOS 7. So recently, I made a video about iOS 13 talking about all the features and changes we could expect to see, but since then, I've come up with two others, one potential, one pretty much for sure that we'll be seeing with iOS 13. And I want to talk about the for sure one first because it's a feature that I totally forgot about and totally glossed over, even though Apple has confirmed it, and that is cross-platform apps. So in its full implementation, it's going to allow basically iOS developers to quickly and easily port their apps from iOS to Mac with very few lines of code changes. Apple did this themselves with the Voice Memos app for Mac, with the Home app for Mac, and I think there's one other app, Stocks, that they ported from iOS to Mac almost directly using this iOS cross-platform magic that they've been working on. And at WWDC 2018, they said that this is coming for developers in 2019. Now, there's the potential for it to come out as a part of iOS 12.2 or iOS 12.3. I think that is a very real possibility, but for something that big, I think it's personally more realistic if that would launch alongside iOS 13. And I'm not the only one that thinks that. So I stumbled across this article from April of 2018 on Daring Fireball. All of this is written by a guy named John Gruber, who is able to get scoops from time to time that usually turn out to be true. And in this article, I noticed at the very bottom, it says that for the cross-platform functionality, his guess is that it is all part of an updated UI coming to iOS 13 next year. That was back in April. Now, just a few days ago, I saw another article on Daring Fireball, this time about some of the design language in iOS 6, called anisotropic design. It's a word I'd never heard of. Basically says that some of this still exists in iOS today. Take a look at the Apple Pay Cash Card. When you move your phone around, the texture of the card can change in the context that you're using it. Gruber says, my gut feeling is that iOS 13 will bring some of this back, bring back more depth and texture to the UI. So first of all, that idea sounds incredible. If that is the case, I am so down for some more detail on iOS. We basically went from extremely detailed to the opposite end of the spectrum, completely flat. I mean, I remember hearing rumors about the iOS 7 redesign back in 2013 and saying there's no way this is actually going to happen until it actually happened. We went from skeuomorphic to flat in a day from iOS 6 to iOS 7. So I think it's very plausible, again, that Apple could be doing a refresh. The timelines here, there is evidence in iOS right now that some of that skeuomorphic or more detailed design still exists. The only big question here is whether this is a prediction or if there's a source behind this piece of information. Is this gut feeling actually, somebody saying that this is going to happen, or is it just a gut feeling? It would make sense for Apple to do this. The last bit of information that has me sort of convinced that, again, this could be feasible is from an Apple analyst site called Above Avalon, and written here on a ton of predictions for what Apple will do in 2019. It says, with iOS 12 being focused on performance and stability, iOS 13 will likely contain cosmetic and UI changes. Now, Above Avalon, again, pretty good track record, doesn't really get scoops ever or details from sources, but very well known, very well respected publication. Based off of everything we know now, there's no way I could definitively tell you, yes, we're going to get a redesign. No, we're not. But I would say that I'm definitely leaning towards the side of the spectrum that says iOS 13 could very well be the biggest UI aesthetic upgrade that we've seen since iOS 7, and I think it desperately needs it. Like, listen, iOS 12 was great. I loved it. It was the most reliable release, and I think it made so many people happy, even though year over year, not that much changed. Group FaceTime, incredible. I love that feature. But everything else is sort of just faded into the background once you get used to the great stability, once you get used to the great performance. iOS needs to feel fresh, though. iOS needs something new. I think people are getting really bored of the way iOS looks and works simply because it has been around in its current state. It's looked relatively similar since not only 2007 when the first iPhone came out, but 2013 when iOS 7 came out. We are long overdue, I think, for a big UI overhaul, and personally, I would love to see something like this. This was the WWDC invitation for 2018. As soon as I saw this invitation, I knew that that is what I wanted the future of iOS to look like. Obviously, you need some color in here, but the way these 3D like translucent buttons look totally just like speaks to me. I don't know what it is about this design. I want to hear your thoughts about it below, but could you imagine being able to use your iPhone and interacting with a toggle and it does this incredible animation, and there is more detail in the flat design language from iOS 13. This part is all speculation. We have no idea what it would actually look like, but I just wanted to report to you guys, as always, what's going on. We're hearing some speculation from people that have some clout in the Apple community saying that there could be a big redesign coming, and I wanted to let you know that. Number one, because it's exciting, and number two, it's time. It's time for iOS to get a redesign. So that's all I've got for you guys in this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something new. I hope you're excited for iOS 13. If you're any of those things, drop a like down below, and of course, hit subscribe so you do not miss out on any other Apple news if we get some hard reporting that a big change for iOS 13 is coming. I'll keep tuned. I won't keep you tuned here. I'm the person making the videos. You should stay tuned here. I'll give you some content whenever we hear about that stuff. That's all I've got for you guys now, and I will see you in my next video. Damn, I really messed up that ending. It's gonna be real good. Anyway, that's all I've got for you guys in this video. Thank you so much as always for watching, and I will talk to you in the next one.